Hello everybody, it's the Lawn Gnome, and welcome to another fantastically spooky Halloween-themed tag. Now, about a month ago, I did the Disney book tag, and of course, what do? I turn it into a film tag. So, that was really fun, and I appreciate the fact that my friend Sarah Ella did tag me for this video, but there's another tag that is floating around out there, thanks to another YouTuber who is absolutely wonderful, who totally deserves more subscribers, Chelsea Martin. There will be a link provided to her channel as well as her original tag video in the box below. We can't have a Disney book tag without those wonderful villains to go along with our heroes. So, welcome to the Disney villain tag. And of course, what am I going to do? I'm going to turn it into a film tag and do the exact same twist that I did with the Disney film tag, which is use other Disney classics to intertwine with the classics that the questions revolve around. We've got 10 of them, and it is up to me to try and do my very best to answer these questions, and then, of course, tag a couple of people. So, in the Halloween spirit, let's go and start on the Disney Villains film tag. The first character is probably one of the most devious of all evil sorceresses in all of Disney, Maleficent. And that is a classic where there is an overwhelming sense of evil or doom. Well, the movie may not be so fantastic, but it's definitely got your share of darkness, evil, and doom, and that's the 1985 classic The Black Cauldron. Like I said, it may not be the strongest Disney classic. As a matter of fact, I think it's one of the worst Disney classics ever made. But what I love so much about it is the fact that Disney really did go out of the box to give us something that was truly un-Disney and very, very dark and scary. The next villainess is the Evil Queen from Snow White, of course. A classic where the villain tricks the hero. Well, I'm gonna go out on a very long limb for this one, and I think it's so funny how the same movie was the answer for question number 2 in the Disney film tag for me. I'm going to go with Foul Foxfellow and Kitty from Pinocchio. These are the two schemers that kidnap Pinocchio from his way to school and telling him that he can be a fantastic actor. And what happens to Pinocchio? He finds out that acting is not as glamorous as it is on Stromboli's stage, and that also is when the Blue Fairy discovers that he has not been the most well-behaved boy, and as she always said, a boy who won't be good might just as well be made of wood. But it's because of those two little schemers who happened to rope him into all of that he ended up in that predicament. Thank goodness he had Jiminy Cricket to bail him out. The third is probably one of the most fun Disney villainesses of them all, Cruella de Vil. A classic in which the villain brings out their own demise. I am going to go with Clayton from Tarzan, and there's really not much detail that I can give you, otherwise I'm going to literally spoil the demise. But one of the few things that I will say about Clayton is, he may be one of the most overlooked Disney villains, and I also think, very much like another Disney villain out there, he is one of the more realistic, and it's because of his selfishness and his greed, like Cruella de Vil, that he ends up with his own demise. But what exactly is that demise? Go and watch the movie if you haven't. Question number 4 is Ursula, a true fan favorite, but a classic that left you speechless. That would be The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I saw that movie very recently, thanks to my show Out of the Vault, and there will be a playlist provided to the box below for every classic that I have reviewed so far. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is not only one of the most unique films, but it is so unbelievably real. It's a movie that I never would have imagined that young kids actually witnessed. I saw this movie when I was a freshman in high school, but it is truly one of the deeper, richer, darker Disney films that has ever been made, and it is done with such beauty. And if you haven't seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame, or if you haven't seen it in a while, if you're an adult now, definitely rewatch it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with how truly incredible this film is. The next villain is Captain Hook, a classic in which you just can't take the villain seriously. Prince John from Robin Hood. Such a baby sucking his thumb, crying for his mommy, and he's supposed to be the ruler of Nottingham. He's brilliantly voiced by Peter Ustinov, but he is just this one villain that you can't take seriously at all. Even when they get to some of the darkest parts of the film, which are at the ending with the final battle of good versus evil, you still can't take him seriously, especially because of the fact that he cries in his jammy jams. Yeah, I just said jammy jams, and I'm sticking with that. The next villain is Jafar, a classic in which the villain almost wins. Lady Tremaine from Cinderella. She locked Cinderella up in her attic room, her two blood daughters try on the glass slipper, and right when the Duke was about to leave, miraculously, because of the fact that she's a big dreamer and she had a couple of mice that helped her, she did manage to get out of that room and try on that glass slipper. And if you consider this a spoiler, just whack yourself over the head with your own slipper, because you should have seen this movie years ago. Question number 7 is one of my personal favorite villains in the Disney Kingdom, Hades. A classic in which you can't help but love the villain. I have to give it to Professor Ratigan, voiced brilliantly by Vincent Price. I saw this movie very recently, The Great Mouse Detective, of course. Don't remember liking it because I remembered seeing it when I was in my teen years, liking it but not loving it. But because of the fact that I've seen it now, and also he reminded me of another famous animated villain, which is the Joker in the Batman the Animated Series, voiced brilliantly by Mark Hamill, Professor Ratigan is just one of those villains that you love to watch because of how deliciously evil he is. And the best part is, Vincent Price, you can tell he is having so much fun voicing this animated rat. And it is such a beautifully done film. It's dark, and it doesn't necessarily feel like a Disney classic, but it's so much fun. If you haven't seen The Great Mouse Detective in a while or haven't seen it at all, I guarantee you if you have a nose for adventure and just want to see something truly original and unlike any Disney classic you've ever seen, see The Great Mouse Detective and enjoy watching Professor Ratigan. Question number 8 is Scar, another one of my personal favorite Disney villains, voiced beautifully by Jeremy Irons. A classic in which there is a family betrayal. That was a very tough question. I really had to try and think very hard because there aren't that many films out there in the Disney world that have the family betrayal. Because when you think of movies like Snow White, Cinderella, they're not necessarily true blood relatives, they're step-parents. But there is a little bit of a betrayal in Oliver and Company, when Georgette lets Oliver be taken away from Jenny. And unfortunately, she has to suffer going out into the cold and pouring rain with Jenny to find her lost kitty. Georgette is one of the best characters in that movie. It's not one of the strongest Disney classics, but it's got great music, and if you really think about it, that is a family betrayal. Question number 9, Gaston. Is there anyone else like Gaston? A classic in which the villain makes a fool of themselves or themselves. Well, I gotta go with Yzma and Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove. I did not like that movie as much as I thought I did when I rewatched it very recently this year, but when those two characters are on the screen, Eartha Kitt and Patrick Warburton doing the voices, they are the best part of that movie. I love those villains more than I love the heroes. They are so great, they're so funny, you can never take them seriously, they were never meant to be taken seriously, and some of the things that Kronk says in that movie are just priceless. You will laugh yourself silly when you watch these two villains together, just making complete morons out of themselves. And the final Disney villain is Hans from Frozen, just in case you don't know. A Disney film in which you didn't see the villain coming. Well, I'm gonna go outside of the Disney Classics library and go with a Pixar film. Mr. Waternoose from Monsters Incorporated. We all know in the film that Randall is the true villain, especially because of the nemesis that he has in Mike Wazowski and Sully, but at the very end of the movie, or at least close to the end of the movie, you see Mr. Waternoose come out and become the character you never truly expected. And there's another twist on top of that that makes him even more devious and even more evil when the film is finally done. And that, my friends, is the Disney Villains film tag. Thank you very much for watching. I'm very curious to see what you have to say. Put your comments in the box below and let's have a discussion. But now it is time to tag a few people, and of course I'm going to tag my good friend, the wonderful Sarah Ella. You tagged me for the Disney film tag, and I'm going to tag you right back for the Disney villains tag. I am going to tag Sam from Novels and Nonsense, my good friend Rachel Wagner, Matthew Aaronholt, a huge Disney fan, Cinema Darling, another big Disney fan. I know it'll probably take 84 years, but I hope you get around to doing this one because I think you'll really have fun with Disney villains. Must Be Magic, Little Word Weaver, and another truly good friend of mine, Rosefire. Thank you all so much for watching the Disney Villains film tag, book tag, music tag, whatever you all want to turn it into, and I'll see you in the next tag video. Actions speak louder than words.
Vampire bat.